Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my channel, Travel with Jose. I'm Jose, and for today's video, I want to talk about my Navy route. I want to talk about where I started and where I am now. Alright, as a little disclaimer, I want to put this out there. This is my experience, and like I said in my last video, everybody takes being stationed in different places differently. It could be positively or negatively. In this case, I've seen a lot of negativity, and it's because people leave home, people aren't used to the culture, so you've been warned. Ever since high school, I wanted to be in Japan. My idea was that I was going to be here to teach English and learn from that experience. Even though I chose a different route, I ended up in Japan. So, I'm very happy. My Navy path started a little like this, like it does for everybody. You go to MEPS, and that's where you get examined. That's where you take your ASVAB test. That's where you choose your job as well. After you choose your job, and in my case, I chose AO, Aviation Ordnance Man. After choosing my job, I went to boot camp. I was in boot camp September 2013. I was there for 2 months and a half. After boot camp, you go on to your school. Your school is where you learn almost everything about your job. Depending on which job you have is the time it depends on how long you stay in that school. There's schools I know of in California, Texas, Mississippi, Florida, and Virginia. I ended up going to school in Pensacola, Florida, and that was a good time. That was 5 months? It was like 5, almost 6 months. I actually ended up staying there longer than I had to because I went to school during the government shutdown we had in America, so that backed up a lot of students, which backed me up. It's in a school that you get to decide where you want to be, and sometimes, depending on your GPA pretty much in the class, you get to decide exactly where you want to go. But for me, they gave me a piece of paper, and it said East Coast, West Coast, overseas. Of course, I marked off overseas, not knowing if I was going to get it though. So you kind of get a say, but then again, it's all the needs of the Navy. It's where they need you. It was in A school that I found out where I was going to Japan. I want to tell you a little story. I remember it was the end of the day, and our instructor at the time gathered us all up and said, "Alright guys, I'm going to let you guys know where you're going to be stationed." Of course, we're all antsy, we're all excited, we're all nervous to hear where we're going to be for pretty much 3 to 4 years of our life. Me wanting Japan, all I could think of was Japan, 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 Japan. Calls my name and says, "You're going to Japan." Guys, I'm not kidding when I say time stood still. Fireworks going off in my head, just thinking about what he just said. My life has taken a new course. My life has been changed in that very moment. When you get orders to Japan, the best thing to do is learn about Japan. Learn about the culture, learn about the language, learn about the food, learn about the area you're going to be staying in. I'm staying in mainland Japan, so I'm only an hour and a half away from Tokyo, and we have another big city, Yokohama, which is only 30 minutes away from us. So I kind of say I got lucky, because there's other places in Japan you can get stationed at, but they're in the countryside. That's not my setting. I'm more of a city guy. Something that you learn very quickly when you first get here is that you are an ambassador. You are representing the United States of America. You have to get in your head that you are bigger than you thought you ever were. Being in the military, you're not on the same level as somebody that comes here on vacation. Americans steal. Americans have murdered. It's a very serious matter that I'm talking about, but I want you to know that if you decide to make it over here, or if you're planning on joining the Navy. I don't want to really get into it because it's too much for me right now in this video. I don't want to make it negative, but you do have to know that. So keep in mind, you are an ambassador when you get here to Japan. Something else that I want to put out there, come with an open mind. I know I came in with an open mind, but there's things that I learned along the way that I had not prepared myself for. It's positive though, it's positive. Truly how respectful, how nice people can be here. I remember leaving my wallet on a train and getting it back within an hour, and all I had to do was go to security. There was also a time I left my phone on a bench and I walked away. Within a few seconds, somebody was right behind me with my phone. Something else that comes along with getting stationed in Japan is you have to realize that you might not return home for a long time. I just looked it up. I haven't been home in a year and 8 months. So I want to say it's been a very long time. I know there's people that go home after a year, and that's when they can go home. I actually don't know anybody that's gone home within a year because of our schedule, like when we leave out to sea, or if you have enough leave days, vacation days pretty much, or if you have money saved up, because the trip back to America from Japan is like $1,000 to $1,500. Not everybody has that money. If I can get my family to come to Japan, I'm not gonna go back home. I would actually rather take my vacation days and go to different countries around Japan. When finding out you are gonna get stationed in Japan, in A school you actually get a sponsor, somebody that's already living in Japan, somebody that's already on the ship that you're gonna be on or shore station that you're gonna be on. I'm telling you right now, message them, message them, message them. Ask any questions that you may have, what you can bring here to Japan. Ask questions about the schedule for work. Ask about where you're going to be staying in Japan, because you don't directly go to and live on a ship. This is an important one. Ask about who's going to pick you up at the airport. When I got here, nobody was here to pick me up, so I had to wing it. So, learn from me. Also, in my case, I had contact with my sponsor, but he ended up going on leave. He ended up going on vacation without telling me, so I was out of luck. I didn't know who to contact. So before that happens, get more than one sponsor. Tell him to give you information of other people that work in the same area, because you're going to get to know these guys very well. Might as well message them before getting to your duty station. Your ticket from America to Japan will be paid for. Different cases, if you do end up having to pay for a plane ticket, just keep all the receipts that you get and the Navy will reimburse your ticket. But when you get your orders, it's going to tell you where to go, and it's also going to tell you when you have to be there by. So I ended up going home for a month, but I had to be in Japan within a certain date. So if I would have stayed longer, that would have been my fault, and I would have gotten in trouble for that. Because on the paper, know this, you have to be there before, and it's recommended that you're there a week before you actually have to be there. Like in case you miss a flight, which almost happened to me. I had to go from Virginia to Washington, from Washington to Japan. My plane was actually delayed 2 hours in Virginia. The captain came on and said, we might not make this flight. And that's when I got scared. If I would have not made that flight, I would have gotten in so much trouble. But fortunately that didn't happen, and we made it onto Washington, and from Washington I made it to Japan, which was the longest flight of my life. But that's something that you're going to have to do. Something else I want to talk about, what to bring to Japan. I recommend little as possible. You should learn how to live out of 1 or 2 suitcases, and that's on top of 3 bags that you're going to get from boot camp. Learn to downsize your life. It's hard at the beginning, but eventually it'll get easier. Trust me. This is another question I didn't ask. I didn't ask if there was storage on the ship for my stuff, for my suitcase, or my 2 suitcases actually. And the answer is yes, there's going to be storage. But along with that, remember to bring locks, because you don't want people taking your stuff. If you do end up bringing more bags than the plane ride allows, you're going to have to pay for them in that moment. But if you keep those receipts, the Navy will reimburse you for everything that you have paid for. Last thing I want to talk about is Reagan Ranch, which is a program that the Navy has set up here on base so that you can transition your life from America to Japan and now living on a ship. If you get here during a certain time that the ship is pulled out and they do need you, if they do need to teach you your job right away, you won't go through that program here on base, but you'll go through a crash course on the ship. The only thing that sucks with that crash course on the ship is that you're going to miss out on a pretty exciting field trip that we go on here. The place is called Kamakura. It's really nice. If you want to find out more about it, look it up. All that being said, I have a few tips you can take away from Reagan Ranch. Meet everybody. Make many friends. Be liked. These people are going to be people that you're going to be stuck with for 3 to 4 years. So you don't want to have any enemies, and you never know who you're going to pretty much need or want help from or want a friend to talk to. I'll put this out there. A lot of the time in the Navy, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. You're going to have to learn to benefit from that. Another tip I have is they're going to help you learn the basics of Japanese. I suggest you really pay attention during that time because you're going to need the basics out there. You may not want to learn a new language, but it's just something you got to do. It's something that goes along with the work. During that program, you'll also have the opportunity to get your driver's license. I messed up. I'm going to tell you that right now. I thought, oh, I don't need a driver's license. I can definitely take the train whenever I want. Oh, parking sucks in Japan anyways. I don't need a license. Oh, I can walk everywhere. Everything's in walking distance. Trust me, you want to get that license because it's actually easier to get license here on base than it is out in town, because that'll cost you $3,000 or $5,000 and you're going to have to know Japanese. So here you can get a crash course on how everything works and get your license pretty fast. I messed up, so please learn from that. You will be giving a test and you'll be getting a study booklet, so study up, get your license. If you do have a family, you'll learn at the Reagan Ranch how to set everything up for them to come here or for you to get the money that they'll need. For all you single guys, I know I had a lot of friends when I first got here that said, oh, Asian women are not my type, so on and so forth. But little do you know, a year, 2 years later, they are in a relationship with a Japanese local, or in my case, I always end up finding females that are from different countries that are here in Japan. But nonetheless, you'll learn the steps that you take if you want to get married. Guys, I kind of just put this together right now. I'm on lunch break. So if I didn't explain too much on something, or if you still have questions, let me know. I'm still posting every 2 weeks, like I said. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to keep on watching. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. I learned a new phrase, and that's how to say goodbye. So, mata ne.